All right, good morning and welcome to our channel. My name is Jay. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com, and today we're going to have a very candid conversation about becoming a Section 8 landlord. There are, in my approximation, two different avenues that most of you are going to travel if you're intending on becoming a Section 8 landlord, respectively. So for those that are an individual that may have a home or apartment, mobile home, and so on, and you're just a private individual looking for a little bit of extra income and you have that property, then it could be an ideal market because you're just trying to earn a little bit of profit off of what you already have. From an investment perspective, part two, completely different. There are a lot of you guys out there that are interested in the investment aspect. There's another segment, the first I talked about, which is those that are simply individuals with additional properties. You want to earn a little bit of extra income. They're two different things, and they must be addressed very differently. So let's talk about the first. You're a private individual. You may have a home, an extra room, and so on, depending on market. The market's not good right now, okay? So if you're planning, then some footwork could be in order between now and December of this year as we move into 2026. We're still waiting on a lot of federal policies to get approved by Congress. And so the next couple of months are not good. Okay. Either way. Now, if you're from the perspective, I'm going to make a few gold bars, and you're going to become an investment guru, it would be ill-advised. Look, on average, I probably worked with a little over 1,000 landlords. And unless you've got about 4 or 5 months and you're willing to put in the research, the time, and definitely figure out how this works, then you're going to struggle with it. A lot of you guys want to invest, but you want your money back too quickly. In other words, you want to jump in there in a hot pot, and a month later, you're expecting to be able to pay your mortgage. It's not going to happen that way. From an investment perspective, look, most companies that hire myself or any other office, just from the investment point of perspective, we're looking at probably 2 months of research. Let me tell you why. Let me just get right to it. You're looking at a property. The first thing that most of you are doing are looking at small area, medium market rates. Okay. That's issued by HUD. It's saying, hey, here are 1,000 zip codes for your state. Here are the amounts, the maximum allowable amounts that you could potentially get per your housing. But that's blurry. It's very blurry because that just means that's the maximum allowable. Doesn't mean you're even going to get that. Next to that is the housing authority has its own payment standard, which contradicts that of fair market rents. And that's what the housing authority is willing to pay per zip code. And then you have things, other considerations like comps or comparables. Comparable rents means you're walking through the neighborhood. You've got a 3-bedroom house, 2-bathroom, and you're comparing it to exactly the same on the same couple of streets around that address. And if that wasn't good enough to convolute, then you have additionally average rent, market rents. And so to be honest with you can really skip step 1, 2, 3, and go straight to 4. Pretty much most PHA or public housing authorities in America are going to follow average rents that are indicated by Zillow. You type in your zip code into Zillow and look at properties, and you could type into Zillow 77377. Okay. And what you're going to find is average rents for that zip code. Most PHA or public housing authorities are that lazy. If it says that rents for what you have in that zip code are going to pay out $2,783, you're going to end up within 10% of that, okay? That's precluding the fact of small area market rents, payment standards, and half-mile comps. And the reason I say half-mile is it's actually less than that, a couple of streets or even on the same street, okay? That's what they're looking at. So that helps you if you're a small landlord and you have an extra property and you make whatever you can get out of that based on the number they're giving you. So if your mortgage is higher than what they're willing to pay, that's probably bad business. From an investment standpoint, you're looking at something completely different because, first of all, you're going to have to sample 30, 40, maybe 50 markets across the US. And a lot of you guys only want to spend $70,000. And a lot of you, additionally, on top of that, are looking at rehabs. Okay. So you're not buying a house that's ready to go. You're buying a house that's got to be prepared. I'm going to give you some good advice. Average what the average is across the nation. Look, from an investment standpoint, most of you guys, when you're getting it right, you're buying in houses at around 125,000. Okay. Not the lowest in the market. Some of you guys are going after 20,000, 50, and 70,000. If you're in that price range of investment for homes, you're in a risky area, okay? And not only that, but if you check the data against the four that I talked about, fair market rents, half-mile comps, Zillow averages, then it's unlikely you're going to find a multitude of houses that you can buy cheaply and also be able to get a really good ROI or return on investment on. So you have to sample large segments of the U.S. to do that, not just hit Jackson, Mississippi, or Oklahoma. But furthermore, from an investment standpoint, look, it comes with a lot of pain. In order to get it right, I know several landlords that have got up to 800 houses. But what they don't tell you is, yeah, you make money, but only after you're working 20 hours a day. So a critical aspect of this is really understanding how to do that research, figure out where these properties are for the cost that you can afford, being able to get a rent standard that's appropriate. In other words, an average rent that'll work, and whether or not you can repeat that success across the local market. That generally is going to spell out for you and many of you out there looking in from an investment standpoint, you're going to have a consultant, okay? I don't care how smart you think you are. I've watched so many people fail at this. There's so few that actually succeed. Now, there's a lot of people that are gurus on YouTube. They're not consultants like me. They're just gurus talking shit about this and that. They really don't have any hand in the game at all other than their mouth running on YouTube, okay? So in other words, you're taking advice from people that really don't understand the process they're preaching. What they understand but not to do is talk about the things that they have seen and read on Google and then hope you buy that bullshit, become a train wreck with everybody else. So that's why I said it's a candid conversation when it comes to this. If you really want to become a landlord, it's not that difficult, actually. The process for paperwork is not that difficult. I mean, first you're starting with simply reaching out to the Public Housing Authority and seeing if they have a landlord's packet. That packet usually has all the essential forms you're going to need in the future as you take a request for tenancy, which is that voucher. So once you're notifying the PHA your intent to become a landlord, they can thank you or not. You're going to submit some banking information so you can get electronic transfer. You're going to do a little bit of advertising so you can get applicants that are known to be Section 8 and then start receiving requests for tenancies. In other words, people coming and saying, hey, I like your property. My voucher's worth enough. I'm going to make a request that I become a tenant there. And for those that are becoming landlords, it means having the right type of property because vouchers are based on a number of rooms. And sometimes those vouchers are issued for 1, 2, and 3 and not for everything. So there's a lot of unknowns there. I recommend anybody considering either avenue as an investment person or company or multinational or a private individual with a spare house that you spend the additional time to understand what you're actually going to be paid through research, okay? In addition to that, many of these gurus don't understand that there are things like voucher density. Has anybody bothered to contact the PHA, Public Housing Authority, to determine whether or not there is enough voucher holders walking around in your own city? If the housing authority does not have the funding and they don't have enough free people walking around with a voucher, then your voucher density for the city is too low. And it means that you're risking investment in an area where you have nobody really walking around with a voucher to use. So looking at certain markets and densities will help you better understand whether or not you can repeat your success from just one lonely old house or apartment. I'm going to go into comments here. I'm sure that y'all's comments are going to be anything but relevant to this channel, as we always play this little dance we do. You guys see me make a video, you ask questions that are completely unrelated, and then we have fun with it. So I suppose that's the direction we're going to go today. I don't mind. I love a good party. Chris M. Roles, good morning. Good morning to you. Sheila Neal. Good morning to everybody. Susan Wells. Thank you, Jay. Silver Fox. Hello, Jay. It's Kitty. Yep, we got lots of kitty problems these days. I'm still looking at 4 cats and the my RV as we prepare to go to Montana. I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun trying to sell all your shit off, okay? Every day, it's just like, God. One thing I can tell you is I'm definitely past my midlife crisis with all this. In other words, when I made this decision, I feel at ease. I feel the pressure's been lifted off of me. And to be honest, collecting this much shit, nobody should ever have to have this much junk. I'm fixing to add something else to my little arsenal, and it's called the flea market down the street. I'm going to see if I can alleviate some of myself with all the shit I've got to take care of around here, in addition to this office and everything else. All right, so moving on from there. AJ, good morning, Jay. Stupid commercial made me late. Well, 3 lashes for the advertiser, right? That damn advertiser got you. Susan Wells, I'll tell some friends. Excellent. AJ goes on, maybe federal government should be directly paid Section 8. Well, let me tell you something. There was a bit of news. It slid right through mainstream media, but this summer, 2025, this summer, as we just passed out of it, HUD has been testing cash payments for Section 8 housing assistance, okay? We won't know the result of that until next year. They were hoping to keep that under wraps, but there is too many loose lips to sink ships. I think nothing would be greater than to go to a cash pay circumstance for well-qualified renters, okay? So they're testing it. We don't know who they've tested. I imagine one of the larger cities to see whether or not giving cash. Now, do we mean cash in a literal sense, or do we mean it as a form of credit? Well, I believe that what they mean by that is they're handing out checks, and then either you pay your rent or you don't. We discussed that pre-pandemic, and then the damn pandemic happened, and now we no longer have that cash pay system in place. So they're testing once again. Them testing this multiple times over the last 6 years let me know they're getting closer and closer into pushing this into no more vouchers, direct deposit money. You either pay your rent and can prove you paid your rent, or you get kicked out. And that would be a lot better because it would leave landlords only one thing left. That would be to get a well-qualified candidate that meets the income requirements to accept, and then they would simply receive a direct deposit of money, and that'd be the end of it. Now, either the tenant goes out and buys $800 worth of crack cocaine and smokes it, or or they use the money to pay the rent through their landlord, and it becomes a better situation where there's not a lot of involvement. Right now, in order to become a Section 8 landlord, isn't that complex either in terms of paperwork, but trying to actually meet all the rules on the HAP contract can complicate things. But the biggest thing really is the housing quality inspection. Look, a lot of people want landlords. They want money. They want money back. They want to make money. But when faced with paperwork and 30-day waits to get an inspection, it seems to be a little bit too much for a lot of people. Because of that, it creates new problems. Moving back down the comments section, Mindhunter says, laughing out loud, crack scenario. Look, when you become a Section 8 consultant and you deal with as many people as I've had with schizophrenia, drug addiction, prostitutes, and drug dealers, it's not beyond me to talk about crack smokers in a video, okay? There's a little bit of everything. You can shake a lot of shit out of a tree. Trust me. 26 years of doing this, I've seen it all. Okay. I mean, look, people try to pay in all forms as well. It ain't just, people don't just want to pay in cash. Trust me. That's why you have prostitutes and everything else. It's perfectly relevant to this channel. Sadly, but it is. I just to be real, I had somebody I could hear they were smoking a pipe. I could hear it in the middle of the phone consultation. Because I kept hearing a lighter snap. Okay, I'm not a fool. I wasn't born yesterday. If you got to take a hit just to listen to me, then we're in trouble. So let's get back to it, okay? I think we're done with the part of the segment of crack smoking. We're going to go on to the part where we talk about Section 8. And just so you know, if you're a landlord, you might run into one of those too. So keep a lot of spray in the house, okay? Shit. All right. So addressing the private market, going back to an individual having an extra apartment or unit, just checking to see whether or not Zillow gives you a preferable amount. In other words, the average market rent for the zip code turns out to be okay. Let's say it's 2,100, and then you're looking at what you would possibly want for that property, would mean as little as you registering with the PHA, giving them your payment information or your tax structure or your EIN, and then at that point doing a little bit of marketing, and then requesting tenancy. And so people that have vouchers, they call it a request for tenancy. They issue that paperwork to you. You complete the paperwork, turn it in at the housing authority, and then you're done. You're a landlord. Becoming a landlord is not the issue at play here. It's a little bit more. So once you become a landlord, then it becomes, are you the type that's going to be an investment landlord or just simply an individual trying to make a little extra cash on your top of your mortgage? And so for many of you, really, it's an investment standpoint. You're trying to strike gold. Just be honest. Oh, well, let me buy every crack house on the block, and I can get $700 per crack house as long as I put a decent paint or lipstick on the pig. And then I got 8 houses, and I can make $9,000 a month. That's poor planning, because the reality is, in most circumstances, you're not going to be able to find that many affordable houses in the market that are all of a sudden going to be in just one little zip code. All this draws back to one thing. Really, if you're going to get in, if you're in this game to actually make money from an investment standpoint, you're going to need a consultant. Seriously, you're not going to want to do the market research, voucher density, and everything else required. And then plus, if you don't really know how to do that to begin with, you're probably locked in the market, spending about $1,000 a month on a consultant to walk you through everything that's necessary to ensure you don't buy up a bunch of houses. As a great example, I think I signed up a landlord about 2 months ago. We spent about 4 months ago. I haven't heard from him. And the guy went out and bought 2 houses in 1 week. Okay. Does that sound like we were listening to the consultant? No. We bought a bunch of houses. We thought we had a proof of concept after 38 minutes. And then I get informed he's bought a second house, but nobody's actually even checked the numbers. So we let our ego get ahead of us, and then we end up in trouble. And then you have what we call a fire sale. In other words, you have this property, but you can't rent it because the rents you require a rent level that's too high. And I think that's probably where this other fella ended up. And then it becomes, you start drowning in it because there's no way to really sell that shitty house. And you have to lower the rent so low that it's not even worth it as an investment. So you're only left with trying to drop it back on the market and hope some bastard buys it. Okay, so it's not about buying the cheapest property. Several things have to come into play for this to work right. The thing is, most landlords don't have a significant enough understanding of how to get through that process and then be successful. The few that I've seen do it, 200-300 houses, they work themselves to death because the margin of profit's too thin. So they're working 18 hours a day and they're trapped with 200-300 properties. And yeah, if you have enough of them, you can make money, but when are you actually going to sleep, shower, and other things, right? And so it shows you their proof of concepts wrecked as well. That's what these guys, these gurus that are not telling you on YouTube. And they're not telling you for a reason, because they want you to buy their pamphlets. They want you to buy that little subscription, the one where you never actually talk to a consultant, that you just read a bunch of bullshit that they wrote in some little pamphlet, online pamphlet, a subscription to nowhere. Okay. So before I had one person, this guy got ripped off $5,000. Okay. No consultant worth $5,000. And then the person paid the money, and then they have no way to talk to the guru. Right. Look, I'll be honest. There are lots of investment guys across YouTube that really know their shit. Okay. No doubt about that. But the thing is, they don't practice federal rules. They don't practice Section 8. If you're going to be a guru and do that in terms of investment, that is great, because that means you understand the average market out there, which is for people that work their job and just pay their rent normally. Then if you start adding in the Section 8 portfolio to that, there's 2 different markets. They operate differently. And using your wisdom as an investment guru, and then all of a sudden dropping in and claiming with your fame to claim as also knowing all of Section 8 is a terrible idea. Okay. you're at a casino with a loaded gun to your head and you're looking to blow some money to prove your proof of concept. Look, guys, take the time to do this right. You don't need to be a guru. When you grow up, you don't need to be anything. You don't have to invent yourself. Either you know or you don't know. If you don't know, have the wisdom to ask somebody that does. Don't make a bunch of nonsense videos and charge people $5,000 and $10,000. Okay? If you fall for that, then you probably deserve it. Okay? If you handed somebody that kind of money and their website don't even have an address, you're asking for it. I don't want to see you people. I don't want to see you at the homeless shelter after one payment. All right, moving back. Germany Who says, big facts, Jay. I know it. I'm pulling them big facts. Let me tell you another fact. I'm about to put jet fuel in the RV, and the sooner I can get the hell out of Texas up to Montana, the better I'll be doing. I'm already driving there in my mind. So my mental health has improved 200%. I sleep better just knowing that my retirement will be exiting. I have no problem with Texas, but I'm thrilled to sell all this shit and just go home. Nothing would give me greater favor than to throw my 4 cats in the RV and get the fuck out. Okay? Let's go see some mountains and trees, things that are not people. People that don't have schizophrenia and attitudes and everything else. Nothing's going to thrill me more. 26 years, I feel like I've worked at the county jail as a mental health counselor. Nothing would thrill. Look, I would rather go talk to a deer or a fucking squirrel at this point, okay? At least they'll appreciate me before I shoot them. And I don't even kill animals. That's how thrilled I am to go to Montana. So I'm just being honest. All right, moving back down. Judith Mateus, why did you choose Montana? Well, I wanted to see if I could freeze to death, first of all. No, I'm kidding. The reason the primary reason is, most of you don't know this personally about me, but even as a kid, a couple things I've enjoyed. I'm kind of a rock hound. I used to own the Houston Rock Shop. So the appeal of nature, mountains, and big towering evergreens appeal to me, fresh air. Two, the rivers have gold in it, and I do like panning for gold. Do I think I'm going to go down there and get in the river and pan for gold and then make a small fortune? No. But I'd rather pan for gold than put up with the client's bullshit, okay? Be honest. And I think it would serve my cats as well. I think that just being out there in a state, in an area that isn't filled with smog. I mean, look, just outside of smoking crack, breathing Houston air is the second worst thing, okay? So that's the reason why. It's filled with things I might enjoy. Some people might call it a midlife crisis. I don't mind. I've heard of people selling all their shit. Now watch me do it. I started yesterday. I've already made $200. I've only got 10,000 more things to go. And maybe if I do this without having a nervous breakdown, then it might take me 2 years to get to RV and everything else prepared, and then hit the street, and then on the way we go. But look, I have nothing to lose. I've seen a lot of life, and when I was young, I traveled the country, so I know what I'm doing. Though I'm not prepared locally for the weather, snow chains, and different things out there. So just sharing a bit, guys. I know my cats are going to love it. I just hope they don't shit all in the RV all the way there, because it's a lot better than trying to put them in a cat cage. So I'm trying to figure out the best way. And I don't want to drug my cats. I don't want to give them a Valium on the way there, but shit, we got to get there somehow. So what are my options? I can ship them on a plane and terrify them. I can put them in cages and watch them howl the whole time, or I can put them in a big RV where they might feel it less. Either way, we're going up there. Any protest, you're going to get a Molly, baby. If there's any cat protesting, you get a Molly. Y'all going up to Montana with me? I'm not abandoning my cats. To hell with that. All right, going back. Sorry. See, I went on a wild tear. We're supposed to be talking about landlords. So no, 2025 is not a good year for this. 2026, the beginning, after we get the new rules in, will be a good year. I advise getting with a consultant. It ain't going to be me, trust me. And I do really enjoy working with landlords. I'm a wealth of information. There's very little in this point in my career I don't know about it. But the research is 90% of this. All the rest is Mickey Mouse stuff any idiot can do. And you don't need to pay for some subscription or read through some Section 8 nonsense book. Okay, becoming a landlord is not the issue at play. It's whether or not you're going to actually make any money. And if you're an investor, can you buy a house in a zip code where you can get favorable rents above the line? You're talking about going through hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of zip codes. That's something my office can do efficiently. For you, you're going to do about 2 or 3 days of that. And then after a few profanities, you're going to go, shit, I'm on to call Jay. I ain't got time for this. I'm here to make money, not run a sweat factory of zip codes. Trust me on that. If you don't do, as I just said, A and B, then you're going to do C. You're going to be another one of these fools that dumps a bunch of money into houses real quickly. And then you're going to walk away with a drinking problem because you're going to go, what the hell just happened? They offered me $1 in rent. And then if you've got financial troubles and you can't survive a couple of months and you've got to have an instant mortgage, then you're going to be the worst kind of landlord ever. I see that a lot too. Oh, well, my life's falling apart, about to run out of money. Why don't I rent my property? I'm so desperate. I'll take even a meth head in there. Let me rent that bastard real quick and make $1 so I can save my house. You're going to be the worst landlord. Your tenants are going to probably smoke as much crack and meth as they can in there, and it's all going to end in a bowl of flames. And then you're going to come back on places like Google and Yelp, and you're going to go, well, I was just a good Christian woman. I don't understand. I don't understand why there's so many drug addicts. I'll never become a Section 8 landlord. But you didn't tell the other half of the story, how you are the party clown, how you were the fool, and you made desperate decisions to save your own ass. And now you want to accuse Section 8 renters of being bad because you decided, oh, well, shit, I'll take anything, even a crackhead. I knew that Nancy was a prostitute. I told her only turn tricks between 9 and 2. I needed that rent. I got to get rent check. And so you did it to yourself. So if we're going to tell a story, let's tell the whole story of how to become a foolish landlord, how desperation dictates that rent. That's the real story. Section 8 renters are never the problem. It's always the landlord. It's the landlord that's desperate, a desperate fool. You know how many desperate fools call my office a week? And they want me to sympathize with their plight of just being a fool. I cannot assist with that. I had to rescue one guy. He actually bought a property filled with gang members. And they told him, you ever come back on this property again, we'll kill you. I spent a half a year trying to get rid of these people in this property. It took police, fire, and ambulance, basically, and a half a year court battles to get these drug dealers out of that little 40-unit apartment complex to save that old couple, which were religious. Yeah, Jesus saves. He doesn't save crack properties, okay? So he got the property, and the preacher and his wife got on a song and a dance, but they didn't come. Unfortunately, you know, when you bring in that Bible, you should have brought a sawed-off shotgun because that's what you bought into. So we cannot play foolish. Poor decisions and doing this quickly is the worst way to handle this business. There are lots of properties been taken over by the prostitute and drug dealer, okay? I'm not going to spend my time anymore trying to evict gang members. You go buy something out there in a tough neighborhood, you knew what you were doing. So don't cry wolf. Nobody wants to sympathize with stupidity. All right, moving back to comments. Now I got everybody fired up and pissed off. All right, so I got to scroll back here. A lot of comments. I had to first, what I like to do is put a couple rats in the cage and shake it up, get them biting and snipping, and then look at the comments because I know how you guys are. All I do is feed the fury. Mindhunter laughing out loud. Judith, why did you choose Montana? I already read that one. Happy, why do landlords sign people up for apartments not available to move in? How do you know if it's clean and everything is working? Well, let's say you prospectively find a landlord advertising and they accept that, and then they're generally looking to see who's the most qualified, but they have to be careful because they're not supposed to discriminate. Now, in terms of whether or not everything's in the units and working is both your responsibility and the landlord's. Look, the housing quality inspection the housing authority performs is done by their employees. Okay. These are people that just got their GED fresh out the bubblegum machine. They got a little Mickey Mouse. They give them a Crayola and a little pad, and then they determine whether or not the blinds are working, the screen's on there, the light bulb turns on and off with the holes in the wall. These are not the same kind of inspectors that you might see when you actually get a loan for a home and have an underwriter, and then you go and get a real inspector that inspects electrical and all that. Look, guys, you're going to rent from a Section 8 landlord, then you need to go in there on your walkthrough privately, take a camera with you and record everything. Flush the toilet, turn on the water, check everything, and record it. Because when you leave there, if you rented something bad because you're desperate and you don't tell the landlord, you don't actually serve them on a piece of paper that says, hey, these are the things we agreed to repair, then it's on you. You've been foolish, okay? There are lots of landlords that are going to rent things that shouldn't be rentable, and the housing they don't give a shit either way. It's just one more notch on the bedpost when it comes to being able to say, hey, you know what? Our housing authority is doing a great job. Our voucher holders are renting everything. We're doing such a great job. I think the notch on the bedpost was probably a very poor example, but that's okay. At least it was very genuine. Jay, you're funny as hell. You get that way. It's doing my job makes you crazy. Just short of batshit crazy. You get pretty close to it. You have to have a sense of humor as well, because this type of work, it'll chew you up inside out. That's why I'm going to go talk to the birds and the bees and the deer in Montana, because they're not going to make me have a psychiatric breakdown. Okay. All right, Queenie, do Section 8 still have the home buyers program? They do, but it's pretty much garbage now. The reason why is 25 years ago, we started that program in the early 2000s. It was a big deal, but they never explained really how it worked. And a lot of people didn't understand how to utilize it. So over time, as the federal government looked at it being so poorly used or so little use of it, they kept reducing the amount of funding. This administration has all but eliminated the vast majority of it, and that's from the very few places that offer it at this point. In any given state, you only have about 5 or 6 housing authorities that offer the program. And then the problem is 25 years has lapsed. That means that if you consider the average PHA employee is only lasts 60 to 90 days, it means that most housing authorities that have somebody in charge of that program has the same wisdom as a person with potential Down syndrome. They don't really grasp actually what their programs are, because they don't read their manuals. They don't want to teach. They don't want to answer the phone. They don't want to do anything. Vast majority of people reach out to offices like mine so we can actually explain to you what should be happening and not to believe as much. The housing authority should be the authority on things, but it's not. It's actually the least amount of authority you're going to get. Like I said, most of them don't even understand themselves because they don't have the time or keep staff long enough to be able to teach people. And then you're going to go in their office on the HUD homeownership program. What they call taking a class is you watching a 25-year-old 1985 film about home ownership. You know, the kind where you roll your eyes, they turn the lights off, you roll your eyes and go to sleep. It don't teach you anything. It's a joke, okay? Best thing you can do is probably reach out with a consultant. There's still opportunities out there. They're few and far in between. There's not that much funding, but to counter that, there are not that many people that actually try to go through it. So anybody that offers it shouldn't be a big issue signing up for it. The question will be is, can you remain friendly enough with your worker? Will there be a schizophrenic moment between you and that worker where you call too much, email too much, become a big hassle, and they decide to get rid of you in the middle of the homeownership program? I think sometimes housing authorities like watching people go through the hula hoops, and as they get close to finishing, they find some way to sabotage it. That's what I get most calls about, is trying to reverse course. I've had people completely finish it, and the housing authority completely fucked the client over that. Okay, I'm being honest. All right, moving back, Queenie. Mindhunter, are you in Houston? I'm in North Houston. Jennifer, you're funny. Well, thank you. Jennifer, do you think living off the grid or van life? Well, I think that part of my crisis of going up to Montana is really about a journey for me, one of my final journey. In another 20 years, I'll be 70. So this is a journey to go do what I want to do, where I answer to myself and get to enjoy what America used to be back in the 1800s. And Montana is very untouched. So, it's not full of big city and people. So it's not about living off the grid. If I go to Montana, it's going to be near a major city. Why? Because I don't do isolation well. And RVs don't travel well through 4 foot of snow. So I will probably be in one of the major cities like Helena or very close to it. Okay. And I'm not a good cook. So, yeah, it's a little bit off the grid. And I'll probably even put up, we'll see how that goes down. And I may travel also through Oregon, Washington, and Utah. Because to me, those are the last remaining areas of America where people aren't jammed in there, So personal preference, I don't mind. I'm crazy like that. I pack and sell all my shit, roll up across the country. I'm okay with it. I've always been just a little bit off. And so that helps me in that adventure, right? Most people wouldn't dare. I don't mind. I don't want the life currently that I've had for 26 years. It's time to move on to something different. Jennifer, midlife, people say that. I think it's about living a different life. I've lived this one that I've had. I lived up to a certain point, to about 25. And then from 25 to present, I've done this. The last third of my life, I'm going to do a different way. Okay. I don't want to be in a cookie cutter house and do the old American thing. I'm sorry. That just bores the shit out of me. Okay. Even the fucking lawnmowers when get sold. I'm done with all this shit. I want to simplify things and just enjoy the planet kind of deal. I don't want to be wrapped up into the regime of America. I'm just tired of that game. Germany, who? Jennifer. All right, like it. Mindhunter goes on. You're a strong closer. Maybe. Just Jeff. It varies widely, Mindhunter, I know. So we got an inner conversation. AJ, love your passion, Jay. Well, I've got lots of it. Now I'm going to redirect it. Silver Fox, if you don't mind, what type of RV? I've been looking at a list of RVs, and since you guys are so curious about my Montana travels, so I got this thing here to help me figure it out. So I think that one, the travel trailer, this one here. I look at all the different versions, and I think the travel trailer would be good. Now, what I'd like to do is take a okay one to go across the country, and after the first year, I'd like to go get one of those really good ones. The one with the big windows and everything. They've got some of them like Fifth Avenue apartments, gigantic windows and everything. But I don't want to travel across the country with something that's expensive like that. I'm gonna wait till I find the right place, and then I'll trade in a regular travel trailer for one of the more advanced versions. It's kind of like a really expensive apartment inside of an RV, and then that'd be that. Why? Because my cost will be next to none out there, and I get to keep all the money to do what I want. So I wake up one day and I decide I want to go to another state, I can do that. That appeals to me. That would probably be frightening and nerve-wracking for a lot of you. A lot of you like to do the same thing every day. I've been doing that. I did it for 26 years. It's like a prison. I'm looking to release myself. So, but the good news is, guys, as I travel, when I get ready to travel, I'm going to be stopping off in a multitude of states. And for those of you who are interested in meeting me, you'll get a one-day opportunity to do so. I'd love to share the story with you guys and have you share your story with me. And then I'll be heading on as I pass through Texas and about 5 states. But we're still a ways away from that because I've got a lot to sell, okay, including land out in Arkansas. It's a whole lot of work. But after this should be no work. I'll have a TV, an internet connection, a killer computer, 4 cats, a nice travel trailer, and we're going to go conquer America. We're going to go up there, and I'm going to show you at 9,000 feet what it looks like to see real mountains. And the nice thing is the mountain won't be filled with assholes. It won't be like Houston at all. Okay? The only objections I'll get up there are the deer and the birds. I'm fine with that. All right, Silver Fox, if you don't mind what type of RV, just Jeff, laughing out loud, misunderstood me somehow. I'm happy. Mine is not a crack house. Don't know what you mean. Well, just Jeff, I wasn't referring directly to you. It's important not to take my comments in the video as directed. When I do personally attack people on my channel, I'm always very clear about that. It usually starts with a few profanities, a light spanking, and then if I'm really, really having a schizophrenic moment, then I'll block them out of the channel, Jeff. I think you're perfect. Got no problem with you, brother. Ghostly image. Montana is my favorite state. Take a long trip as often as I can. Well, I'm only taking one. I'm sorry. Driving 1,600 miles is not that appealing to me. And I'm sure my cats are going to really not speak to me for a couple of months after that. And I can't even imagine the amount of piss and shit I'm going to have to clean up in that RV. But hey, it's better than locking them in a box and trying to travel 5 days. And so it's suitable. I don't want to arrive in Montana and have to go look for RVs. I'm sorry. I just don't. So I got to go take some RV driving lessons too. Silver product that's awesome. You get, let's see, Jay, you're nice 35 travel. 35? I don't know if I'm going to go that high. I'm still nervous about driving these things. I'm probably going to take a lesson out in one of the cities close by to make sure I can actually back it up and make sure I'm not going to have any problems, because it's a bit of a gamble when you get up there in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains. That's where I'm going to be, the Rocky Mountains. Just Jeff says good truck camper can do work for a bit. Some are larger. Well, this weekend, I'm going to go out and take a look at the different sizes and see what I believe by eyeballing, walking in them and seeing which one's going to be appropriate, where I don't feel like I'm being, where it's too tight of a space. I want enough space, because having 4 cats, they're going to act like little monsters. I already know that. First thing they're going to do is claw the shit out of everything in there. Bunny's going to piss on everything. Grandma Grace is going to fur everything. She's 26. Look, when she rolls on a blanket, you're already choking, okay? I try to brush her ass out. All we do with her is brush, brush, brush. If she doesn't get brushed, then she gets kind of bipolar. So it's just horrible relationship. And then there's Pops. He's always popping like popcorn. Needy, needy, needy. I got him in my hair. If any cat gets near me, he's the male, right? Then, he starts his hee-haw and he starts, that squawking he does. And then he sees me trick out a little bit, because when he does too much of that squawking and I'm under pressure to do my job, then I get kind of off in the head because of it. And then, of course, we have little mama. She requires a full body massage like twice a day. Any offense of going near a keyboard or a microphone will make her get completely unhinged from reality. That means she can't get massage. So this is the shit I have to contend with for 1,600 miles. So every time I open that camper door, it's going to be, oh my God, I'm going to hear cries and everything else. By the time it gets there, everything's going to be painted and pissed. And that's not including Pops. I'm sure he's going to shit all in there. And I'm not thrilled about that. But hey, we got to do what we got to do. I can't even imagine the look on all 4 of my cat's eyes when I put them in a dog thing where I can walk them. Because I'm not going to run after a cat up a fucking mountain, okay? I can't tie a string around his neck because people then will call the police. So we're going to get a little body harness. And then I'm going to watch all my cats basically hate the shit out of me for about a half a year. That's a lot of massages, a lot of brushing to earn the favor of the cats again. I think everything will cool off when we get there. Try to love them a little bit, see if they'll come back. Nobody's going to talk to me after that. I'm sure of that. They'll probably all be hiding in the cabinets, telling me to go to hell. All right, moving back down. Candy Dandy, I am so defeated at the moment. What are you talking about? Well, as a representative of my own YouTube channel, I tend to just talk to whatever the hell I want. The beginning of the video started about Section 8 and being a landlord. We crossed through that. Now I talk about all my personal shit, put that out in the street, hobbies, everything else. Judith, I heard of housing is converted to standard payments based off zip code rather than traditional payments. Let's give some clarity again back to Section 8 landlords. HUD issues a small area market rents, and it's by zip code. And they give you a number. Let's say it's 5,000. That is the maximum. That is not a guarantee. Then you go to the housing authority and you say, excuse me, can I get your payment standards? Payment standards is almost the same thing, but it's a contradicting number. That's a list of zip codes, and the amount the housing authority is the numbers on their list is going to be the maximum amount, but not the guaranteed amount. And then you got to do a little bit of research. And that research means that the housing authority's job is to be like a flea market. They're going to lowball your ass, okay? And so they're going to go, oh, well, we did half-mile comps. We looked at all the houses in the area. Unfortunately, the 5,000 on HUD's website and the 4,000 on our website don't count because the crack houses in your neighborhood, well, unfortunately, they're only worth 1,000. But then this is really where you're really going to get shocked and pissed off. It all boils down to one number. Go to Zillow, type in the zip code, type in the word average rents, and you can almost guarantee with a 98% accuracy that is the number you're actually going to get for rent. Why? Because that's what most housing authorities use. All the magic boils down to that. All these lists of numbers they issue by the feds and the housing authority, that's all that, you know what that is? It's called bait and switch. They love for that. That way you run around, you cash in your savings. Oh, I've got HUD's list. This is what I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get rich today. And then you run out there like an asshole. You buy something and they go, oh, well, you want the 5,000? Well, after looking at Zillow and half-mile comps, we're going to give you $3.50 for rent. Would you like that in cash or check? That's why I tell you guys, research is really important. And I'm not joking about this. It may seem comical in the way that I'm presenting it. That's fine. That's me. But that is the reality. Anybody wants to test that theorem, I'm happy to do it for you. I can guarantee you, after doing it 26 years now, that I'm accurate within 1%. Okay? I would have investment groups in California that are buying $50 million in properties or multinationals with 5,000 more homes reach out to my company because I'm a party clown for children's birthday parties. I do know. I'm an actual consultant. I'm not a guru. I'm not self-invented. I understand. The only thing is, what I'm doing is I'm presenting the information in a genuine way, which you may be unaccustomed to. It lacks complete professionalism. That's what you do when you're going in retirement. You don't have to care about this kind of shit anymore. Okay. All right. Well, I don't even know what to call you. We'll just call you SL3AK5. I'm sure that means something to you. So happy for you and the kiddies. Hope everything goes smoothly. I hope so too. What's the worst that could happen? The RV rolls down the Rocky Mountains and all the cats and I die. That's option one. Option two, we pop a tire every state. And so I'm probably going to be a little crazy by the time we get there. It goes really well. And we arrive and find a good place to park the RV and I got to figure out the whole where to stop at stuff, the Flying J gas stations and so on for this trip we're taking. Everything about this is a lot of work, but I'm going to put in all the work while I'm still here because I do not want to put any work in when I'm actually traveling. That's why I plan 24 to 36 months to sell everything, get the RV, convert it, make any changes and conversions we need to make in the RV for me and the cats. And then one day when I gas up the truck, that is the end. I'm literally walking away from a life that I had for 26 years, and I don't mind doing it. It's not a midlife crisis. Typically, people that do that do it, do for fun. I'm not doing this for fun. I'm not interested in the present life that I have, and I'm going to change that. There aren't a lot of me left where you just sell all your shit and go. I'm okay with that. As long as you have money, you're okay. And no, I won't. I'm not going to become a Section 8 landlord. I don't have any desire to acquire new mental health problems. Okay? Not for me. I'll probably be a really good one, but that's not how I want to spend my retirement. All right, so moving on. Jay, document some of your trips. Oh, I'm going to document the whole thing for you guys. Every time we stop, I'll show you everything out there. And I'll also tell you about all the troubles I have along the way. There's going to be some. One thing I'm good about is mitigating risk and trying to deal with circumstances as they happen. And to think that I'm going to take a trip that far without issues and problems would be stupid. So my mindset is just be prepared throughout this to deal with lots of adversity, to use the good wisdom and logic and of the locals everywhere I go, take a lot of footage for you guys, because that way you'll see the journey. It'll be a hell of a one too. Though there are not that many people that do what I'm fixing to do. There are some of us. All right, moving on. Jackie M. Jay, are you on the move again? And 2, the mountains, no less. Wow, you are a true adventurer. You know, guys, I did this in my 20s, my early 20s. I traveled like 3/4 of the nation. And back then I had a backpack and no money. I've always been a free bird. And on a nickel, after a 26-year career, I do it again. Though I won't do it without money, not like in my 20s. Shit, no, and you had to lie and say please and thank you to everybody. Shit, no. This trip will be done in the right way with money. Ain't no way I'm traveling the country any other way. What I did in my 20s takes a special person. I've been to Seattle like 4 or 5 times. I mean, you know, there's very little. The only place I never covered was the East Coast. Can Dandy, I know you want to stay here. If I stay here, then I might as well go ahead and buy a bucket of nails and a pine box. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life in Houston, okay? I'm done with this. I'm done. You know, I know, because the pressure and how I feel is so much better since I made this decision. I sold over $200 worth of stuff. I got about 600-700 days left. And at the pace I'm going, at 200 to 500 a day, trust me, it'll be a lovely trip. Mine says, I understand. For Fox, 10 years ago, was told could only rent something that was $350 and up to $400. Thank God I did that at the time. I'm still at $450 a month. That's about what my rent's going to be at the RV park. And in Montana, another reason it appeals to me is I don't really have to pay any rent. I mean, RV has a generator, it has water, it has heat, all that stuff. I don't have to pay anybody anything. I can park the fucking thing off a gravel road if I wanted and just pay nobody nothing. It's a home with wheels on it. And guess what? It has no property tax. If I put solar lights on top, then it has no electric bill. The only person I'm going to pay is a satellite company that pays me the cell phone. If I could purchase a satellite and get rid of that cost, I would too. Not because I need to or to be frugal, because I'm just tired of working my entire life and having to, you work and you pay and you give all your fucking money away to everybody. There's so many people got their hand in the fucking pie. By the time you get done with it, the only thing you're eating is crust. I'm going to eliminate all these bastards. So me and Cats travel. The home is paid for, no property tax, no electric bill, no water bill, no nothing. If I pull out a gun, then I have dinner. I'm not going that far. I'm not going to be an extremist and go live in the magic forest, but you get my point. All right. Dad goes, what's happening with Section 8 in Southern California? No one's heard anything. Well, guys, as a update in terms of Section 8 and HUD, the federal shutdown has caused HUD to close. They have not got any discretionary employees ready just yet, so nothing can be approved or moved. Housing authorities have taken a note from that, even before the shutdown, because of budgetary cuts and not getting enough money this year. Virtually all housing authorities across the country are doing nothing. Okay. The lights might be on, but they're not doing anything. I have never seen an area or a time, last couple of months, only a handful of housing authorities open. And the ones that open weren't even giving out vouchers. I had one housing authority open and said it had 2 vouchers to give. This is economic. In an economic version, this is the worst circumstances I've seen for Section 8. Homeless funding has been cut altogether in lawsuits. Funding's run out. A lot of housing authorities are facing insolvency because they don't have an operational budget or extra money to go for maybe a month or two. Many of them burn through it, and the only way for them to remain open is to basically close, quit hemorrhaging what money's left. Now, after Congress reopens and does this reconciliation, we're going to get some even bigger rules. Congress comes back and makes its decisions depending on what they debate. We can have time limits, work requirements, a whole lot of things. There's a lot of big surprise bangs going to happen as we enter into 2026. I'll be covering all that. All of a sudden, you'll watch the few videos that I'm making now turn into a bunch. It's any day now. And shutdown could carry on for a month. I suspect it could be longer than, probably the longest one we've had in history, which at the present would be 31 days. But I don't see this being resolved. No party wants to give an inch. Democrats only have one chance at leverage. That is this. They're not going to get off the gas. Any other president except for Donald Trump might negotiate. President Trump is not going to negotiate with Democrats, okay? It's a perfect storm of both parties, and this will go on as long as it needs to, and it won't be short. The fallout will likely be large, because one thing I know about leverage is Democrats, like I said, they have leverage. That is also the mode of operation for President Donald Trump. He uses leverage. You see that just through the way he's handled import taxes. Now we got two parties hoping for leverage, which we end up in is a disastrous situation where neither party is going to give. Okay? Nobody going to sell their soul. Both parties have the upper hand, and so until this matter is solved, housing authorities, vouchers, and the entire system remain in a neutral pause, burning through cash they ain't got. The only thing we can do is look forward to 2026. It is dead in the water. If anybody wants to make an asshole out of themselves and argue that point, go ahead. I encourage you to get on Google, Yahoo, or MSN and type in the word open waiting list. You'll find nothing. You can type in the words HUD and Section 8. You're not going to find any news. It's all just dead. It's a dead market. Hell, I have to find things just to talk about these days. We went from all kinds of stuff. We spent a week talking about immigration and clearing up housing, and then it just died. So there isn't much. You know, if you're a Section 8 housing participant, you're going to be looking at 2026 as your newer option. I think things will be better off then. If you're a Section or prospective investor or Section 8 landlord, stop what you're doing and just wait till 2026. I no longer advise it. The minute we shut down, that was the cue. It's not a good time to do this. So if you're a guru in this, I'm just telling you, best wait till they end this and we have a new federal budget, okay? Otherwise, you're not mitigating risk, you're taking it on. Mindhunter, boy, you're going along. You must have one of them extra large keyboards, brother. You got about 8 or 9 comments here. Let's see what you got. Are you trying to earn that extra special icon award we give? Because you're going to win it at this pace. Get it registered in South Dakota. That's a good idea, actually. I'm going to make a video about Montana. If anybody has an argument about it, then go to hell. It's my channel, right? So if I want to make videos about blow-up dolls, Section 8, whatever, it's my business. This is not a democratic process. I'm not going to vote for what I'm going to do. So maybe our next video will be Montana. I'd like to hear your stories for those of you that have family and friends out there in Montana. Let's see, Montana, Washington, Oregon, and I can't always think of the other one. Idaho. So we at least have something to talk about. That was not a good idea. During COVID, a lot of people on Section 8 stopped paying rent. Well, it's happening right now. A lot of housing authorities are facing a very serious issue. They have a reserve. It doesn't last forever. Okay? Housing authorities burn their cash reserve in just over a month. When that runs out, you're going to see some different kind of problems. The system was never designed to have a 1-year savings account. Okay? You know, the feds always tell you plan for big incidents, save money for 6 months. Now imagine that not even taking your own advice. Housing authorities are not cash rich. Any profit they made in 2025, they've already probably burned up. Soon they're gonna have to let go of people. A lot of them put on their website, well, we've closed the waiting list, so we're gonna open it for a few people. That's because they got to do a little. It's a lifeline. They've got to figure out to operate at the lowest possible level right now to still keep their doors open. Because after they lose their money, then the only thing they have left is their assets. Housing authorities that own project-based buildings, and then they have to start selling off their assets. Once that starts to happen, then pretty much they're in insolvency. How will that actually happen? Well, if we approach the end of November, we'll see that start to happen. You can see as much as 50% of the market or half the housing authorities in America fall into insolvency. So the issues become climatic if we have this continue all the way to November. That will be a breaking point for not just federal programs in housing, but for a lot of federal agencies and military. It'll be a breaking point for a lot of Americans as well, because you can only do so much before people come out with gas cans and matches. You can only shut things down and affect inflation and everything else so long before the general public go to the town hall with torches and pitchforks, okay? So this will test the will of America at about 30 days. And after that, then the issues become very climatic. Okay? While the government has a great deal of power, it does not have enough power to take on 360 million pissed off Americans. So this fat cat sitting up there in their late 80s running the Senate and the White House, not the White House, but in the Senate and the House, they need to put their heads together and figure this out. Because you do not want the village people with pitchforks and torches around the building. It ends badly after that, okay? We are dealing with inflation. That will solve that with looting, okay? So, but I think it would take quite a bit for us to reach that stage in America. So hopefully they will hash this out. That means somebody in the Democratic side will get a new golf course and for their constituents. Maybe Republicans will get something new, a new golf course for themselves as well. So once they've horse traded half the fucking budget away with bullshit, the other half will help us. That's politics for you. You know, the devil's in the details on both sides. I've looked at some of these bills. It's cram packed with crazy shit. We'll spend 2 or 3 million on bird watching. Hey, I think that's wonderful, but do we really need to fund that? Okay. All right, move back down. Minka, Frank Zappa, Cutie Pie, Southeastern Washington would love to like to see you visit there, Jay. Well, thank you. Maggie Smith. Going into Sunny Road in Glacier Park in the summer. I was there in May and it was closed. I haven't had a breakup yet. Well, I'm going to check out a lot of the parks out there. One of them I want to see on the way is Yosemite. Okay. That part of the country between those 4 states, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, got some pretty interesting parks. Thank God they decided to make them national parks. It'd be bad if we had a bunch of investors out there with Section 8 houses in the middle of a glacier. It wouldn't be surprising. Ned says, isn't the military being paid? Not that I'm aware of. But hey, I'm not an economist. I don't do payroll for the military. I don't know. I can probably Google it like you would. So that's not my arena, but I don't believe they are. ST says, I think there are apps that find free rate parking overnight. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at Flying J's. You know, I'm going to be as efficient as possible. I don't want to spend forever in every state, okay? 1,600-mile trip in an RV with 4 couch. You want to get where you're going. Though, you know, I got to take breaks along the way. So I'm hoping to use truck stops as a medium part of that. I've already been looking at the rules for different states. They tend to be more crazy throughout Texas. I'm hoping as I get through travel through the Midwest, it'll be easier to park, you know, off the road, stuff like that. But I'll have to look into them. I'll make several videos, and I'm definitely pulling from the wisdom of all of you that are Northerners that lived in the Northwest in those 4 states. to let me know what might be acceptable and not, as well as those of you that live in the Midwest that be traveling, that live in the areas that I'll be traveling through. If you want to come out and meet me, that'd be great. Maggie Smith, military is being paid. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad they are. Otherwise, they're not going to defend the border. They're going to open it. Cutie Pot says petrified forest in eastern Washington is a must stop. Hey, I'm going to hit them all. There's not that much to do in Montana, okay, guys? There's lots of snow. It's cold as shit. The summers are pretty good. I'm probably go out there and do some panning for gold and go take a look at the rocks. I'm a rock hound. I definitely going to see all the parks. I mean, if you live in the middle of all that, then I'm going to see that. And that's really good, the petrified forest. I want to see that. So I'm going to take full advantage, I mean, the cats have something to do. I'm going to train the cats to walk up the mountains with me. We're going to struggle for air. I'm a fat guy rolling up a hill at 9,000 feet with my oxygen being compressed at 9,000 feet. I don't feel too well, so I'm going to work on weight loss so I don't have to roll down the hill or be rolled up the hill. And my cats have dietary issues as well. So they're like little turkeys as well. We might go down there and get tortured in the mountains, might pass out and then roll down the hill. I don't know. Lots of shit can happen on the mountain. I'm looking at ATV, but I don't know if the National Park Service is going to allow me and my poor fat cats and myself to take an ATV up the hill. So I'll be calling on you guys to figure out whether or not that kind of shit is acceptable in state national parks and where we can possibly go without killing ourselves on a mountain. So it's going to be an interesting ride and an interesting trip. Cutie Pie goes, great rock hound hunting all over Washington State. My love of the Northwest is definitely based on my early travels 25 years ago to Seattle, Washington. I had never arrived through a forest and city with so much natural beauty. It was just stunning to me. I mean, I'm always growing up in Louisiana and lived most of my life in Texas. There's no natural beauty really out here. It's just swamps in Louisiana and flat territory, and Houston's just as flat. So when I visit a place like Seattle, Washington, or traveling to it through Oregon, it was like going to the Wizard of Oz. I'd never seen shit like that. I was rather compelled the fact that you had 4 seasons, like the one we have here. We have 2 seasons, hot and hotter than hell. When you want to see something interesting and you can gather the whole family in the wagon and wait for that one snowflake to roll through the air. That happens on every 6 years. That religious moment we have out here in Houston, a snowflake falls, everybody gathers. What is that? So I'll be quite thrilled when we can get 5 and 6 feet of that. Can you see me hop through the snow like a bunny to get a cheeseburger from McDonald's? All right, Sherry. PNW is beautiful. I'm not quite sure what that is. Guys, if you're going to talk about the Northwest, give me advice. Please don't use acronyms. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Just Jeff, I'm in Seattle. Yes, it's a beautiful gym. I hope it's still the same way. So we intend on traveling through a lot of the states. In Oregon, Montana will be a primary stop for me. But if I find that the grass is greener in Washington or Idaho or Washington, we can transition. That's the beauty of that. It's a travel trailer. I can go in the 4 states anytime I want. I can tell you I'm very eager to see Boise, Idaho. What I'm not eager to see is drug-addicted people. But that's everywhere, right? A smoker's a joker. We got them in Houston. But lots of beauty, and not everybody's a fool out there. So that's good. I'm hoping to see it because it seems to me Boise, Idaho is tucked in a big mountainous range. So I'm kind of curious to see how that looks out there. I've seen Seattle. It's nice. Parts of Washington State are not really that interesting. It's very flat, no mountains. When I went through there last time, it was a lot of big meadow fields and stuff like that. Kind of brown. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I enjoyed talking with you. I'm glad we got to talk about 20 minutes of being a Section 8 landlord, some of the cautionary tales. And then I went on to put all my shit in the street, and we talked about travels and cats and all that. That's one of the wonderful things about owning your own channel. You don't even have to stick to the point. You can just have a dash ADD and just go all over the map in your own channel. Great way to lose subscribers, but I just keep gaining them for some reason. I guess they find a little bit of humor in my videos. So in the next video, I have no idea what the hell we're going to talk about. In fact, I've run out of things to talk about altogether because, everything's closed and there's not much to really address in terms of Section 8. Of course, there'll be a lightning rod of videos if I can just get the government to open up and tell us what they plan on, how they're going to screw the American people. We have lots to talk about. That's always a guarantee in America. Let the tax base know what we're going to do to them. It's kind of like an S&M relationship. The government sadist, we're masochists, and they're going to let us know how they're going to tickle us with a feather kind of deal. But as much as I'm looking forward to this joy of the government reopening, it just means we'll be screwed in a new way. That's why we're going to ride our RV all the way to the tip top of the mountain, so I don't have to hear about none of this shit no more. Well, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. I'm glad that you guys are here. Thank you for entertaining my story about retiring and going to the mountains. And I hope to maybe make another videos just on that subject matter for those that are interested. If you don't like it, unsubscribe, go to hell, ride your car off a bridge, and do what you want. Okay. We'll pick up the main topics of Section 8 as soon as the government reopens, if it ever does. Then we'll get right back to that. Other than that, guys, enjoy your morning. I've enjoyed having all of you, and have a beautiful day. Bye for now.